What's going on, everybody? I'd like to welcome you back to Moulton's Mind and Body. I am your host, Jeff Moulton. The first thing I want to do is say thank you for all the positive feedback I got after that first episode. Being my first episode and all, I didn't think it went perfect, but I really appreciate everyone that's been supportive after that podcast. So I did get some good feedback, and I also got a lot of questions regarding myself, training, nutrition, and some other things. So I thought it'd be perfect for this episode, our second one, to go into a little bit Q&A, and then I'll get to let you know a little bit about me better, and I also can kind of answer your questions directly that you guys asked. So I got 10 questions we're going to go through today, and we're going to start there and see if we can answer them for you, okay? So the first question we got was, what was the hardest parts of being a personal trainer, okay? So for me, this question kind of can go in a couple different ways. For me, the hardest part, honestly, wasn't the schooling and everything involved in that. But it was honestly, building a clientele and making enough money to survive. So if you don't know me that well, I worked in a couple different places. Did my associate's degree at Berkshire Community College, and then did my bachelor's at Springfield College. I did a little bit of training prior, but the hardest part for me, honestly, is when you get into the field. I worked at Equinox, which is this, higher end gym out there. And I gotta say, the gym was gorgeous, the clientele had money, so you had nothing to worry about from that perspective. But if you are not, basically have your own business person or don't have an entrepreneurial mindset, you're going to struggle at first in a big gym setting because you are your own brand, you're your own business. So if you can't, pick up clients on the floor, spend time in there, interact, you got to have a good personality, you got to like people, because, sometimes you're going to get a little help from other people, but, maybe the managers or things there that'll help you out. But these bigger gym settings, you're really set up for, leading on your own. So the hardest part, honestly, once you get the clientele, that's the easier part for me. But getting it could be hard at times. And depending where you are, if you weren't lucky enough to be in a big gym setting like me that had money, if you're at these Planet Fitnesses, Retro Fitnesses, and smaller end chains, you're going to struggle making enough to get by. And, people don't have money, so it's hard for you to retain them. So that's definitely probably the hardest part for me. For being a trainer, it really was just retaining them. I picked up the training pretty quickly, and I always loved it and did a lot of research on my own. The best piece of advice I can give, honestly, is this can't be if you're going to school, you can't just go to school, learn a little, and go home and do nothing. If this is going to be your career and path you want to go into, you need to be spending time on your own, and you need to be, doing that, when you're home, researching, listening to the podcast, writing programs, just doing anything you can to learn more. If you're a visual listener, you can do YouTube. So there's so many ways to get content out there, and you got to be doing that on your own time to differentiate yourself from being a good trainer or a bad trainer, honestly. So, the hardest part, definitely getting the clientele. Retaining them wasn't hard for me, but if you're not a personable person and good at what you do, that can be difficult. So we're gonna go into question number two. Number two I got was, when did I start training, and how did my training change over the years? So again, if you listen to the first podcast, I started training at 19 years old, and when I say training, I mean working out. So I started working out at 19 years old. Started to be a runner at first. Within weeks, I knew that wasn't me, and then I wanted to get into more of the strength side. So I started lifting weights, and really had no clue what I was doing. This crazy, I think I remember doing cable rows, pull downs, bench press, and arms for 2 days in a row, and it started there, and I'd take a day off, and then 2 days in a row, and a day off, and eventually I started progressing over time, but that's how it all started in a Planet Fitness. So over the years, I definitely got more into the bodybuilding style of training, a little bit powerlifting-esque, and really it wasn't really powerlifting in regards to your conventional bench press, squat, deadlift, but it was just honestly just like lifting heavier weights, lifting and eating more. And eventually, over the years, I gained more knowledge, and most of that honestly was research and finding the right people to listen to and just learning. And then you kind of pick the good and the bad from doing your own research. So eventually started competing in bodybuilding. I was a WMBF pro bodybuilder. I did 2 competitions, and I came in second in my first one, and then won the second one, which made me a natural pro bodybuilder. So it's a drug-tested federation. They do polygraph. So that was like my passion for most of my mid to early 20s, and I won the pro card at 26. So the last couple years, things have changed a bit. What it's came down to is I've got more into different types of training. Honestly, like after bodybuilding, I continue to train the similar way, but put more of a focus on the mobility, flexibility. I didn't go as heavy. I've had injuries along the way, not necessarily from lifting, but more or less I've had injuries from other things like snowboarding accidents and getting injured in different ways. And those injuries basically screwed me to an extent in the training, because I have all these imbalances and injuries from them. So, right now my big passion is I've just started getting to train for Spartan races. So if you're not familiar with Spartan races, it's basically obstacle course racing, different obstacles. You run a certain distance, anywhere from 3 miles all the way up to 20 plus mile races. So my training's changed a lot. It's very high intensity. It's like timed circuits, and I've cut back a lot on the weights and getting better at my own body weight and my cardiovascular endurance. So that's kind of like where it's went from, all the way from barely lifting to competing at a good level in bodybuilding, and then now we are at doing this stuff, Spartan racing, baby. So that's it. That's where I started and came to. So we're going into number 3. Okay, how do you lose weight but actually still build muscle? So I get this question a lot, and I think people have a big misconception of what the truths actually are and what's actually possible. So first of all, there's only very few scenarios that you can actually do both. If you are really overweight, you're probably going to be eating enough calories, even when you're cutting back on them, that you can build muscle. Okay, that's probably one of the only options, honestly. The other option is when you first start training, you have this thing called, they call them newbie gains, right? Basically, when you start training for the first time, your first 6 months to a year, you can gain up to 20, 30 pounds of muscle in a year. And what the reason is because your body is adapting to something so new, and it's responding so well to it. So your nervous system, doesn't know what's going on, so you're getting strong rapidly, very quickly. Your body's never been through that sort of stressor. So even if you're barely eating or eating, decently well, you're going to be gaining muscle mass. But I've seen people even barely eat and gain muscle in that first year. Now, to answer the question a little more clear, you cannot build muscle and lose weight at the same time in most cases. The average person that says that's not going to happen. So you have to decide 2 different things. The first one is, are you really trying to build muscle or lose weight? And you have to decide which one is more important to you at the time. If you're a young kid in your 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, whatever, in the early stages, don't worry about losing weight unless you're seriously overweight. I think the biggest thing you should be doing is focusing on eating good foods, get your training down, get a good workout program together, and work really hard and build muscle. So as you build muscle, your metabolism will speed up, which will help you burn body fat as you build muscle. Now, you still need to make sure you're eating, right? So I think the biggest problem people have is doing both. So if your goal is to lose weight, you need to accept that and try to lose it. Again, I don't recommend it if you're a young kid. Now, if you're a bit older, as you get older, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever it may be, if your goal is to lose weight, I think it can be beneficial to do, if you have a lot of extra weight on you, because you want to get to a healthy body fat percentage, and then begin to build muscle mass. So it really depends on each person in every scenario, but you can't do both at the same time. And without getting too detailed in the science side of it, which we can do in another video, I think it's just important to decide which one is more important to you at the time. Take the time to lose the weight. A healthy weight loss is 1 to 2 pounds per week, and if you're doing that, you'll eventually get to a weight you needed. The other part of that is making sure you're not cutting calories too low. And again, we'll talk about it another time, which I think might be best to do that, where we can actually break down your calorie intake, your macros, and how many calories you need to be eating to do each of these steps, the most ideal way. But as a broad perspective, at first, start with good foods, healthy, I don't like to say healthy, but more nutrient dense foods. So your fruits, your vegetables, lean proteins, whole grains, brown rices, even white rice is fine, oatmeals, things like that. Your good fats, you got almonds, peanut butter, avocado, coconut oil, different things like that. But big end of the deal, guys, you can't do them both. So decide which one you want to do. Try to gain a half a pound to a pound a week if you're trying to gain weight. If you're losing weight, 1 to 2 pounds a week, and start from there. Okay. So next question. Yeah, how do I deal with failure? So this is kind of a loaded question, honestly, and the best thing I could say is you have to take it with a grain of salt, and you can't get too much on yourself. Now, if you know me at all, I have a very high expectation for myself, and which in the end can be tough with failing, because if you have a high expectation for yourself like I do, you want to be the best at everything you do, and you don't really settle for much less, which can lead to failure being really tough. So you really have to look at it as like a building block, right? Failure has to be something that motivates you to get better and not something that holds you down. You can't be willing to not do something because you're worried about failing. There's been so many aspects in my life that I've had to do where, from it's moving to Boston, not having enough money to get by, and just going on a whim, trusting myself I'm going to make it work. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It could be as simple as, dealing with day-to-day things like, whatever it may be, you have to take it as a learning process, and that it could be way worse, and you're going to learn from that failure no matter what it is, whether it's failing a set in the gym and you get frustrated and beat yourself up, and it's just like, you failed a set, you didn't get a weight, that boo-hoo, like that's, you got to move on, man. Like you fail that set, like, okay, good, now let's get better. How can I get better? What can I change? Can I change my diet? Can I change my workouts? Simple things like that, to taking a step in a relationship or a business, or you're moving across the state. Like, you have to just be like, you have to be able to take chances. You have to accept that failure is part of the game, and if you don't fail, you're not going to grow, right? It's like you have to be willing to fail. And honestly, for me, like, my failures have led to my biggest changes, and it's probably grown, honestly, the most, because you don't want to fail again in the same aspect, so you're going to learn from it, you're going to get better, and it's just taking one day at a time and accepting that failure is part of the game, guys. So that's how I deal with it. It's part of the game. So this one's a little bit different. So how do you balance relationships in the fitness industry and also continue to motivate each other? So I've been very lucky with my fiance, Bree. She's been awesome, super supportive, and she's honestly, supported me in everything I did, and is fully trust me in every aspect. If you're going to take this question into, training, as being a personal trainer, you got to deal with that, your significant other, if they're the trainer, they're working with males, females, and you have to accept and trust them that they're doing their job, and they're not pushing it past another level, because there are people in the industry that do that, and it can make the other uncomfortable. So there's got to be a trust in the relationship, number one. If you're looking at this question as a social media standpoint, which I think that's the biggest part. Like, so you as a trainer, you get into the industry, and you're trying to post more on social media, you're putting more content out, and you're going to get more attention because you're trying to build a brand. But how you handle that attention is going to decide how the relationship goes. Now, if you're handling it correctly, and your significant other, it's not being untrustworthy for no reason prior. Now, If you had prior problems, that's another thing. But if you have a healthy relationship and they're being insecure about it, that you got to have a conversation with them and let them understand that, you're being loyal to them. This is part of what you need to do to build your business. And then you have the discussion and see where that goes and see if it's something that you're both on the same page with. When it comes to motivating each other, now I'm a big person that motivation is kind of bullshit, which is interesting for me to say, right? Motivation comes and goes. You can have motivation one day and the next day you don't. So you gotta, be very intrinsically motivated and be able to power yourself. Now I think motivation can be helpful to people in a temporary short-term period. I think for myself, me being obsessed with the fitness industry, I think I can subconsciously motivate Bree, my fiance, by just being excited about what I do. No different than if she's excited about something she does, you're gonna be drawn to that and want to do it, right? So if I'm in the gym and I'm having good workouts and I'm talking about it and I'm motivated, and she's getting excited for me, and that excites her more, I think that's the supportive side of it. I think if someone doesn't understand what you're passionate about and what you love doing, then you're gonna have some serious problems, and then you might need to reevaluate the relationship. So I think you need to make sure the person that you're with understands what your passions are and understanding to it. So support is huge. You need to support each other not only in the gym but every aspect. But I think that goes along with if Bree, she loves cardiac sonography, right? So I have to support that. And if I don't understand what she's doing, the hours she's working, and what she's doing it for, there's gonna be problems in the relationship. No different than if she doesn't understand that I need to, be at work for a certain period of time and work with these certain types of people and connect with all these different types of people. So when it comes down to it, you need to make sure you're supporting each other. And I think motivation just comes from intrinsically, if you're motivated. But at the same time, there are times where just being around people that are very driven and that's a whole different story. So we'll stop it there and go for the next one. So next question is, how do you break out from a slump in the gym? So for me, that's the irony is I just went through this. Coming out of bodybuilding, I was, I did so well in my eyes, and I pushed myself as much as I could. And then, probably a solid year went by where I just didn't feel great in the gym. If you're like me, I'm super competitive, and I need to have something that keeps me going. So, more than just health. You hear all the time people want to work out to be healthy and all these different things, which is great. That's awesome. That's probably the best thing. But I need more than that, and I need to be motivated, and I need to be driven, and I need something that pushes me. So this past year I got in a slump, and it just came because of that whole coming out of bodybuilding. So just of recently I got out of it. But what it really took is honestly I felt bad because I did put a lot of extra stress on Bree, and I, we were going through a lot of transitions of work and we both moving across the state. We both switched jobs. We got a dog. Got engaged. So there was a lot of transition going on. But the thing for me is I had to try to focus on me and really figure out what I wanted, and because I feel like I lost myself a little bit by doing so much and changing so much, all on top of me not having that drive and competition again. So I think talking to people is helpful in a way. You get some feedback to see reevaluate yourself a little bit and figure out what you actually like doing. Why are you working out? Try to dig deeper and figure out some whys about yourself. And for me, I was why did I get started in the first place working out? I was so caught up on social media and content, and I went 3-4 months without posting on social media, which I was posting 3 to 4 times a day. And it was crazy because I just felt like I just was doing it for the wrong reasons, and I felt like I had to post, and I wasn't doing it because I was passionate about working out anymore. So I took a time off, and maybe for you need to do that. Maybe you need to take a couple weeks off, reevaluate, maybe more. But it just depends on each person. But I think you need to tip back, ask the whys of why you're doing things. Why am I working out? What is the goals I'm trying to do here? What goals can I set that are going to help me, Is it, what can I do? Are there other stressors in life that need to be figured out? Am I sleeping enough? Am I eating enough? Because those are all things, right? If your diet's not in check, your nutrition, the nutrition side of it, if your workouts aren't structured, if you're just kind of going in and you're not sleeping, there's so many variables that are going to play with it, and that's going to stop progress. But is there more? Is it more of a motivation thing? Are you don't have goals set in place? So I think you just got to dig a little deeper, guys, and figure out what's going on more than just, is it a slump in the gym? Is the programming? Is the nutrition, sleep, or stress, or what is it? Try to figure it out, and if you can solve those things, I think that's going to help you back in the gym. So, question number 7, we got, what does my diet consist of right now? So, my diet basically consists of right now I'm a very consistent eater, honestly. So, what I do every morning, I make the exact same thing. I have a RX bar, it's a blueberry RX bar. I have a smoothie that consists of 1 serving of Fairlife milk, 2 tablespoons of chia seeds, a banana, a serving of strawberries, and I blend that thing up. So I have the RX bar in the smoothie. Lunch, I am consistent on what I do. Most days, at least 5-6 days a week, I do 8 ounces of ground beef, 93.7, with either 2 servings or 2 cups of white rice, or sometimes I'll do pasta. Dinner, I do another half pound of ground beef with a pound of red potatoes, and then I'll do like another meal snack. Could be like 2 servings of Fairlife milk with apple and peanut butter and some oatmeal. It just depends, but I'm consistently eating the same things. Sometimes I'll swap out my beef for chicken. Sometimes I'll have, a little snack that's different. The other thing that I have, I'm sorry, I forgot, is most mornings after my workout, I'll do a scoop of protein powder with a cup of oatmeal, 2 tablespoons of chia seeds with blueberries. So really 4 big meals with a snack that'll get me to my calorie marker. Right now, I'm trying to consume around 3,300 to 3,400 calories. That might need to go up soon because I'm losing weight, and I don't want to lose weight right now at the rate I'm losing it, because I need to make sure that I'm metabolically stable, and I want to make sure that I'm keeping my muscle mass on as much as possible, even though the goal isn't to put on crazy amounts of muscle. So that's pretty much it. And then, I'll have my, days here and there, maybe football, I'll make a pizza. We make pizzas, I don't really buy them. Most of my food, if not all the fruits, vegetables, dairy, meats are organic, so I like to make my own pizzas. But most of the time, I eat pretty well, and then if I want something, I put it in, and I make sure it fits my calories. Okay. So number 8, we're gonna jump on to number 8. What do we got here? So we got, how did you get the courage to put yourself out there? It's a good question. So, you probably wouldn't know it if you know me now, but I was a very quiet, insecure person in high school. Even coming out of high school, my confidence wasn't great. I was that skinny, scrawny kid that most people thought that I was. Or, well, I shouldn't say that. I was a skinny, scrawny kid that basically didn't have a lot of confidence. And once I got out of high school, that grew. At 20, I got LASIK eye surgery. And started working out, and that was kind of the beginning of me getting myself more comfortable. For me, this is why I got into fitness, guys. This is the holy grail of why. I need to build confidence. I felt better about myself. As my self-confidence grew, I felt like I could put myself out there more because I felt more comfortable with how I looked, which is more superficial, but that's what started to open me up. But then eventually it became confidence, and I kind of found what my niche was. And I think everyone, if you can get healthy, start with there. Work out 3 to 5 times a week, get your food on lock. You're going to start to feel better physically, mentally. You'll start to change your physique, which I think, will make you feel a little bit better. So that's a good start right there. But with me putting myself out there, past that to now is, I think you just have to do it. You're not going to have a right time to do it. You're not going to feel comfortable doing it. It's going to feel weird. You're going to feel awkward. People are going to judge you. but you can't give a fuck, guys. You can't care what they're saying. You know, you're gonna at first, but you have to just keep on pushing. You can't worry about what they say. You got to know you're doing it for yourself and for the right reasons, and not doing it because someone else is telling you need to do it. You definitely don't want to hold yourself back. You know, starting this podcast, posting on social media, the YouTube videos I used to do, the competitions, moving to Boston, all that stuff got frowned upon by a lot of people because of the situation I was in, or didn't believe that I could do it, that I was a bit crazy. Even now, I'm even moving across the state, quitting my job, you know, getting a dog, getting engaged, all at the same time. Everyone thought it was way too much, but I trusted the process. I believed in myself, and that's what you need to do. You just have to believe in yourself and trust that you're doing something because you want to do it for yourself. And then who cares what everyone else thinks? So there you go. That's how you put yourself out there. You just got to do it. So number 9, got 2 left. So yeah, why did I stop bodybuilding? So talked a little bit about this early in the earlier questions, but honestly, I stopped bodybuilding because I didn't think I could be competitive at a higher level than I already was. Like I said, I competed a couple shows. The first show I did was the Cape Cod Classic in Cape Cod. OCB show. I came runner-up. I won novice. I won open. And then I came in second in the overall. I lost to a guy that couldn't pose, but was way bigger than me. So realistically, it makes sense that he won. He was a tank. But the next show I came back and I needed to win, honestly. So I took the year, came back the next year. I went all in, especially with the living situation, and I won. And it was one of the best moments of my life. And it wasn't because I was a pro bodybuilder. It was because the amount of shit I had to go through to do it. I biked to work. I lived in Boston. You know, I had no money. I worked crazy hours. I was biking to the grocery store, tried to diet, and it was the living situation just wasn't good, and the stresses were high. And but I knew I had to do it. And I've been one of those people that, like, if you think you can, you know, if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And how epic would it be if I pulled it off, doing everything I was doing, where I guarantee most people, you know, at points had a smoother road that were showing up to that show. So I out-dieted them. I felt like I outworked most people, and it all paid off. But that being said, moving forward, the pro level, man, these guys are tanks, dude. They're so big. They're so strong. They're just, the physiques, they're coming in just as lean as me, but with 5 to 15, 20 pounds more muscle. Something I can't compete at. I'm genetically, and I don't play the genetic card often, but I'm not built for that, guys. Like, that's just not who I am. I have long arms, long legs. Insertion points are bad. So I did what I could with what I had, but I honestly just got out of it because I needed something different that I could be competitive in. I could beat some guys because I know I could out-condition them, but I need to be able to shot at winning at some point. And bodybuilding is a sport where it takes years and years to put on muscle, and I think even then, unless there's very few people that showed up, I wouldn't do well. So that's what it was for me. I need that competition. So we're gonna go on number 10. Last question here, guys, and it's a good one. So this is a good one to end on. So we got, how do I make time for the gym and keep it a priority? Okay, for me, the gym that I said earlier in earlier questions is literally been the reason I am who I am today. I found myself through working out. It's made me who I am, from mentally, physically, and I think everyone has time for it. The big thing is you have to make time for it. It has to be a priority to you. You have to not make excuses. There's 24 hours in a day. If you sleep 8 and work 8, you got 8 hours left. If you sleep 10 and work 10, you still got time. So the question is, what are you doing with the time? You only need half hour, 45 minutes, 3 to 5 times a week. There's so much time. The question is, are you watching Game of Thrones? Are you watching some other thing on TV? Are you watching Grey's Anatomy? Are you just like shooting the shit with your friends? Are you playing video games? Like, are you tired? Probably a lot of the time if you're having crazy stressful days, but either getting up early before work, get it done, just do it. There's no other excuse. It's just, there's time, right? Everyone has time. It's the one thing we have. And whether you value working out enough to make time for it, that's up to you. So you can't say, that you don't have time. For me, I work out before work. I work out at about 7:30. I get up about 6. I have an hour commute to work. I work till 5, and I get home a little after 6. So for me, I need to get it out of the way early. It's a priority to me. I do it 5 times a week, sometimes 6, sometimes 4. It just depends how I feel. But I make sure it's a priority to me that it gets done. I promise you, if you make time for it, you will feel better about yourself. You'll feel more accomplished. You'll feel more awake. You'll feel better, and your energy level will be better. So, how do I make time? It's a priority to me. And if you want to be a priority to you, you have to show that, and you have to make time for it. And you have to stop making excuses for yourself and keep yourself accountable. Writing a schedule, planning ahead, plan your workouts ahead, plan your clothes ahead, make your meals. Set yourself up for success, okay? It has to be something that you're all in with. Obviously, go back to the relationship thing. You need someone supportive that believes, in similar values to you and supports you working out, even if they're necessarily not. So you just got to make the time, guys. You got one life, you got one body. You got to make the time to do it. So it's a perfect note to leave off on. I appreciate you guys for tuning in for episode 2. I hope you liked the question, the Q&As. Moving forward, I'm going to do some similar podcasts with Q&As, but I also want to do something more specific in one big topic. The video may not be as long, depends on how we go and how the questions go. But moving forward, I'm going to have some guests on also in the near future. So again, I appreciate you tuning in for episode 2. I look forward to having you back for 3 and moving forward. So I hope you guys have the rest of your night. I'll be talking to you soon. Take it easy, guys.